If you want to be a special operations unit that is just unstoppable, you have to have that ability. You have to be a monster. At the same time, they don't teach you how to, for those of us who were affected by it, I was never taught how to become human again.
Life's 10% what happens to you and 90% what you're going to do about it. Welcome back to the 1090 podcast. I'm with Vince Vargas.
Yeah.
Double V.
That's it.
Vince, you're cool. You're a big deal. You were in not Sons of Anarchy. The Mayans.
Yeah.
Which is like a spin-off of Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, it is.
Sons of Anarchy. That's the reason I bought a motorcycle, was that show.
Was it? Yeah.
Like Jack's Tale. I got into the whole thing. Can we just talk about this for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. It's part of my story, man.
Yeah, like how'd you even get into that? Like how'd you end up on the Mayans?
Well, it's funny. It's like I remember Mayans was only interesting because Sons was so big, right? For me personally. Like I was a big Sons fan as well, and I was in the Border Patrol. I was divorced, alone in a little rental house, watching Opie get killed, and broke my heart.
That was brutal.
Broke my heart, man. I remember
Opie.
sitting on the couch just crying, eating, and just like, damn, that's so hard.
Me and Opie go back to Remember the Titan days.
The whole thing.
Gary
right?
Bertier, and you cannot replace a Gary Bertier.
Yeah, and so I grew up in LA, man. That's like you kind of grow up with the dream of being an actor. You run into him from time to time and all that stuff. And I kind of went into the YouTube space with some friends. Never thought Hollywood would actually be a thing. As a kid, I tried a couple things that just never panned out. I couldn't read very well, so like reading scripts was tough. And so just never thought it'd be possible. YouTube kind of picked up. That's kind of in the 2012 timeframe. YouTube was really getting big. Social media was getting big. I jumped on with some friends to do some social media videos, and they went pretty viral. And we decided, I think we're coming up on 2 million subscribers. And,
oh, wow. What are you guys doing? Like what videos?
We did like military humor, right?
Really?
Yeah, like we were all former special operations dudes. And
oh, wow. That's
one of my buddies is kind of like the face. Like if we were the Beatles, he was the lead singer. I was
Paul McCartney.
Yeah, I'm Ringo Starr in the back.
Okay,
yeah, I'm just a dude. I'm a character essentially.
Hey, Ringo, he got some bitches,
we're doing all right. Like I got a little bit of attention. No, but we decided to produce a movie. And that was kind of the start of me wanting to get serious in acting. We produced this comedy that was terrible, but it was kind of like a cult classic in our world, right? The veteran community really kind of came together. And
what was it called?
It's called Range 15.
Range 15.
And we crowdfunded it. It was 1.2 million, 1.3 million. Yeah,
wow.
It was a big crowdfund. And
you get a lot of support from military guys?
Huge.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
Yeah, because the humor that we created, the dynamic we created was just three friends hanging out, making videos, and people they relate to one of us, right? Whether it be Matt, whether it be me, whether it be JT, they related to somebody, and they related to the community and the camaraderie of what we had.
Sure.
And so,
plus it's a little unique because like you don't think comedy when you think that area usually.
Well, that was the cool thing about it is like we can make fun of ourselves. You know what I mean? As much as we struggle with post-traumatic stress, I could make a joke about a balloon popping and us all freaking out. You know what I mean?
So healthy and good,
right? And so
because like, I meant like. If you create something that you can't laugh at, it gets weird and dangerous.
Yeah.
Laughter is a very healthy way to handle many things.
It actually caught a lot of civilians off guard because they were like, "This is so offensive." Like,
I'm sure.
Like, hold up.
Oh, I'm sure. Like the specific type of dark humor, for sure. I've had like you're rubbing them the wrong way all the time.
That was the funny thing so that's why Range 15 became a thing. We saw the community love that kind of humor, that really edgy, dark humor. And we created your typical zombie film, right? And it was just crazy, like super bonkers, off the wall, but it brought a lot of veteran community together. It kind of, they really helped. The community came together and helped us fund it, right?
That's so cool.
But, my friends decided to get back into, we were doing entrepreneur stuff. We're selling T-shirts and coffee and stuff. And I really wanted to focus on acting, something that as a kid I thought about, I dreamed about, but never knew it was even manageable. Produced another short film, and then did some improv comedy stuff in YouTube that was filming in LA. And while I was in LA, people were saying, hey, Mayans is still looking for people. And I was like, well, shit, how the hell do I get that audition? And called a friend. By chance, the casting director saw my picture, saw my acting reel, saw my stuff, and was like, yeah, we're interested in seeing him read. So I went in. I took my wife with me, which I now get laughed at because I didn't think about it, but I brought my wife, like, here for the audition. And, you know, a couple auditions later, I landed the part in Mayans, and, you know, the rest is kind of history with that.
Couple auditions.
Yeah,
were those pretty intense? Like,
No.
you're nervous, or?
Acting, like, the auditions is usually, you know, there's the one I did was just one character. The producers and the writers liked it and wanted to see. So essentially the two guys who created the show wanted to see more. So they gave me another character. So the next time I came in was a serious guy and a comedy, and we pulled off the serious guy, and then we did the comedy. And the comedy one, I kind of ad-libbed a line, not intentionally, just kind of flubbed it and got really comfortable. Kind of blacked out like Will Ferrell, like that's how you debate moment. One of those moments where I was like, I came to, everyone's laughing. I was like, cool, that worked. And I shook hands, and boom, I left. And, you know, we got the call, we got the role.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah, it's kind of wild.
Oh, wow. And so are you in the military as you're doing this, or what? How is that?
I was in the reserves at the time. Okay. I walked away before that, I was in the Border Patrol, and I walked away from the Border Patrol to film that independent film, and just kind of living on a prayer, really, man. We were just making money off of public speaking, and a couple little businesses that we had at the time.
What were you doing? Public speaking. What were
I do a lot of. I used to. I haven't booked much recently. Just kind of pivoted my life a little bit where it's hard to schedule, but a lot about veteran transitioning out of the military, trying to help others navigate those waters, because I kind of did it. And even though I was speaking, and when I was speaking, I was still struggling. You know, I guess I was really good at explaining, you know,
speaking, but still struggling. I can't relate to that. Yeah, it's weird being a speaker because people like write stuff down sometimes. I'm like, don't write anything down. I don't know what I'm fucking doing, so don't write anything down.
Yeah, it was funny. I guess like I was just writing speeches based on like, well, here's where I'm at now, and you know, I got lucky enough to speak publicly, and it did well, and started getting booked here and there. So we were making somewhere around 50, 60K a year just on speaking engagements, which was not a lot, but man, that was a lot for someone who didn't have a job. You know, that it covered some bills.
What are some tips for public speaking? Like, help me out here. What
Man, I'm not the dude.
What are your secrets? What makes you good?
I watch other people, and I'm envious on how calculated they are with their messaging. More so, like if I watch 5 of their messages, they're all pretty accurate, similar.
Yeah,
that's not how I roll. I'm like really, I kind of talk from the heart and talk from like what's happening currently in that moment in my life. And if you watch any public speaking of mine, which I don't know if you can even find any, you'll probably find a different conversation every time, because I feel like as I've evolved as a man and someone who's kind of healing in the moment, I've been able to kind of, I guess, change my message, you know?
Yeah.
And so like I'm in a way different space now mentally, and really feeling I'm in a good, I think I'm in my stride now, you know what I mean? I think I really understand my message. Yeah, better than ever.
Found your identity.
Yeah, I think that always evolves, and it's continuing to evolve in a space where I'm helping others heal.
So walk me through. I have no idea what it's like to be in the military and getting out of it. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, especially for some people who've seen awful things and been through a lot. Obviously, that's even harder for them. But like, walk us through like what's it like getting out of the military, getting back to life.
You know, I served during the beginning portions of the war, so Iraq and Afghanistan.
Thanks for your service, by the way.
Well, thank you. It's always, I never know how to reply to that where I don't feel awkward.
No, I know.
It's like what I do with my hands is to say like, thank you.
I don't know what to do with my hands. What are you doing?
But well, thank you for that. But you know, I joined because I wanted to see the war, And I was kind of in a weird spot in life. I had a daughter who was born. I lost a full ride scholarship to baseball. Don't really feel like I'm like making my family proud at the moment. Kind of keep screwing things up. And so I was watching the war on TV. There was this interview with parents. They were interviewing these parents of a Marine, and they were extremely proud of this dude, right? And so I was like, okay, probably I'm going to join the military. And if I do it, like, I want to see the war. Like, I want to be, if you imagine front lines, let's go.
Like, if we're going to do it, like, let's do it.
If I'm going to do it, let's go all in, right?
Yeah.
And I had prided myself as an athlete, and so I thought, like, well, these special operations kind of, movies and shows, I can do that. I think I can do that,
Yeah.
And so I got done watching Blackhawk Down. I got what?
Dude, Blackhawk Down.
Yeah, man.
Sorry, can I say something real quick?
Please.
So when I was little, whenever my parents had like a date night with friends, they'd rent me a movie. Like, take me to Blockbuster, and I could rent a movie. And I was like, I loved it. I loved going to Blockbuster with my dad and picking out movies. And I was in my war movie phase as a kid, and so I picked Blackhawk Down. And it, like, didn't like the movie. Like, I'm like, I was so sad. It was the first movie that I'm like, because there was little kids with guns.
It's crazy.
And I'm just, like, playing war, watching the movie, and I'm like, wait, those kids are, it's just, like, it was the first movie that kind of, like, war is actually not cool.
Yeah.
And I remember Black Hawk having that effect on me. Yeah.
I was still living in a small town in Kentucky called Owensboro, where I lost my scholarship. I don't have the guts to kind of tell my dad, like, I'm ready to come home. I'm just going to try and wing this. I'm working at Texas Roadhouse as a cook during the day and a server at night because there's really nothing else for me to do but work. And I would be home on my days off watching military movies, and Black Hawk Down was like, damn, if I'm going to do this, I want to see it. And I questioned whether I had the guts to do that. I questioned whether...
Well, that war, too, that was like the first war... I got to watch what I say, but that war was like video... Like, you could watch that one. That was like one of the first wars where it was like... You could see it.
Yeah, it's accurate. It was the first time they really were kind of showing the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so as I'm watching the Black Hawk Down, I'm like, I'll go to the recruiter. The recruiting story is even longer. It's just silly. But eventually, I find myself in the Army recruiter. Because I thought Navy SEAL was cool, and then it wasn't because they didn't give me the opportunity to do it. Then I went to the Marines, and he said, the bonus is being a Marine. I was like, no, I'm good. And I was, I had a daughter. I wanted money, and the Army gave me $20,000 signing bonus for an Army Ranger, right? And I took it, and I really didn't know what that meant other than I genuinely thought I was going to be like, I'm the only Army Ranger opportunity. Like, there's very few of these contracts. I show up and like all 40 of us had the contract. It's like, okay, so it's all of us. But, our job was to kill or capture high-value targets, is to dismantle terrorist organizations. It's essentially to we get intel, and we do these missions that were, raids on houses or assaults, or, and we would catch these individuals, and if they're alive, then we gather more intel and do follow-on missions on the next ones.
Wow, dude!
And so,
what an honor to be here with you today, dude.
I'm no hero, man. There's tons of really cool dudes.
You are actually.
There's tons of real cool dudes.
They're you.
I just did the job, but
no, you're the hero. I grew up idolizing like Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
So like now that just seems silly to me because we got people like you actually doing real life shit.
Yeah. I don't know.
What's it like? Can I just...
Yeah.
What's it like doing one of those?
It's exciting, man. I think that's...
Are you scared shit? Like, when I watch movies, I'm like, how are they just not shitting their pants?
I don't... I would say there's moments where I'm thinking, oh shit, I might die, but you're still like, fuck it, let's go. And I don't know if I can cuss. I apologize if I can't, but...
Watch your fucking mouth, right?
So, okay, now that I know we're there, bro.
now that you know I'm cool.
I looked over at the producers. I'm like, I'm sorry.
You can give me the real stories now.
Let me take my hat off for a second here. But no, in all honesty, when you choose that job, I would hope that they all think very similar to me, and all my guys really did. It was, you're willing to sacrifice your life for the country, for the greater good, and for the belief that this mission is important in potentially saving lives. We knew that some of the intel that we gathered from phones, from conversations, from interrogations, that there was contacts to America, that there was potentially future potential like 9/11 threats, to America, but that are being thought here in Afghanistan or Iraq. And so that justified what we did. That made me feel really good about the mission. And a lot of people talk about like, oh, politically this and that, oil, or whatever the case. It didn't matter for us, boots on ground, the guys to the left and right. Like, we really believe in it.
I mean, I don't mean to disrespect you because I'm basing all my knowledge off of movies, basically.
Yeah.
But no, I think, I would understand that emotion. Like, these are my brothers to my left and right. Like, I'll go with you. Like, I do understand, I feel like I can relate to that feeling. Are you more focused on the mission, like, let's not fail the mission? Or are you more focused on, like, I hope I go home? Like, how close are you to, like, actually dying when you go on these things?
I can't say that.
It's probably an impossible question.
No.
But
I'll explain it this way. Like, so every mission, there's a chance, right? We're not going after nobodies. We're going after the top cells, the top dudes in these areas. We know there's missions where people lose their lives. We've seen, platoons before us or after us, and we're getting rocketed every other night or once a week. We're getting rocketed. So like, there's chance of like these random Hail Marys might catch us, and it did catch a few people that we knew. But one mission, a vehicle in front of me blew up and injured some of the dudes there. Another mission, the team in front of me who was upstairs got hit with a frag grenade. Another mission, this happens. This is the job you live, right? And so, I think I started to think like, man, I'm getting close, but it's not getting me. So there's a chance it's coming, right? And I think that's in the back of my mind. But the big thing is like, the mission. I trust my dudes are really well skilled, like Army Rangers. We train like crazy. Not to throw shade on any other special operations unit. I'm just really believes in my dudes, and I believe like our capabilities were just solid. But war is war, and so there's an obvious that you could potentially die. There's moments when you stand behind the door and you have to kick it in. There's a potential there's someone on the other side, and you just tell yourself, I might get shot in the face. Fuck it. And you just go. And that's a common thing for us, is that, or at least for me, fast roping onto a house, knowing that, you're fast roping into a house. That's crazy. And then knowing that you might go down the stairs and there might be someone ready. Right. And so it's a constant thought, but you stick to your training, and
what makes it so easy to make a hard decision like that? Like, I'm going to kick down this door and I might get shot in the face, but that's a split second, that thought.
Yeah.
Is it just
if
love for the brothers? We're here now. There's no way out but through. Like,
dude, it's a hard thing to understand. As much as I loved my dudes to left and right, I would have died for any one of them, hands down. I don't know if necessarily that's the thought, or it's like the competitive nature of just fucking people up. Like, let's go. We're badass. And it's like, you're raised to believe you're just really well trained. And whether it's brainwashed or not, like, I just had a lot of confidence in our skill sets. And we were going to catch the bad guy, right? The good versus evil, and I believed in it. And during the time, like my best, I would say the most successful missions of my career were during Iraq and Mosul in 2005. I was struggling a lot with my faith at the time. And every drive or every flight to the mission, it was just like, and this offends people when I say it like this, but I would talk to God as if he was a friend of mine, not like this, not a hierarchy where I had to like be careful with how I talk to him, but more so like, all right, big guy, here we go, another mission. Fucking, I want to go home. You know what I mean? And you're like thinking like, I have a daughter on the way.
Like, please get me home.
Like, I got a daughter on the way.
Yeah.
And I know we don't have this close relationship that everyone else does. These guys that are praying every night and all this stuff, but like, these are the moments I talk to them right before the mission, because it might be my last chance. And I'm just saying it more in like, I try and talk to him like a friend. And I've gone through phases of understanding my faith. And, and during that time in my life, it was really about like, I thought I had to owe him good deeds to earn my place in heaven. And so it would be like, yeah, war's ugly, forgive me, but I would really love to be home with my daughter. So what do I have to do? You know, and I'd have these conversations, and that was something that was just in the back of my head. Like, once I leave here, I'll do good. I'll do good. And thinking in you know, a lot of things I struggled with was, and I know this now, right? Now that I have a master's in psychology, now that I work with a lot of veterans, now that I'm in a different place of understanding kind of like the transition out of the military and where I'm at now, I guess I feel more human than ever, is that I was struggling a lot with moral injury. I was struggling a lot with trying to justify whether God will let me into heaven or not, right? A very, like I said...
I know, I don't think I'm supposed to ask this, but so you can just, we can edit it out too, but you're taking lives. You're taking other people's lives. Is that part of it?
That is our mission.
No, right.
I necessarily...
As you're having these... Is that... You think that's a worry you're having? Like, can I please go to heaven?
Yes. The worry is more like, look, in combat, there's collateral damage. And that's a terrible term to use for innocent bystanders who get killed in action.
Well, war's terrible. Right. I mean, so yeah,
yes.
That's why it's terrible. War. Yeah.
And there's things that someone like me and my platoon would justify. And not saying we've done anything it's not like war crimes, but man, it's fucking crazy to see. It's crazy to blow a frickin' door with a breech, listen to the women and children cry, go into the house and punch that motherfucker right in the face and drag his fucking ass out while his fucking kids are watching.
I literally can't even begin to imagine. Yeah,
it's a really interesting thing. Like, and there's a little bit of guilt that sits there, right? And it starts to kind of fester for me, and like, you know, I'd play a game with like how hard can I backsmack this motherfucker, the next dude, right? That I don't, if I don't have to engage in him, I'm gonna knock him out so he doesn't go for a whoop. These things that I put like safeties in place in my head, that like if he doesn't have a rifle in his hand, then I don't have to kill him. But let me backhand the fuck out this dude and drag him out.
The cognitive dissonance. Because, like, you're such a good guy with this high moral compass, and then you're doing these noble, courageous things, but it's still, because you're such a good guy, you're like, man, like...
Yeah, the foundation of it is always, like, go home to my kids. Go home to my kids.
Right.
And when you're there in action, it's like, be a fucking monster. Be a fucking monster. And... you know, there's moments that are just like accidental. There's moments that happen, right? You know, and some people just forget about them. And I wasn't one that was good at that. I was someone that like remembered these little incidents where, you know, this innocent bystander gets hurt. And so that's something that I struggled with for a long time, because the group of solid, great men that I worked with, we were all very good at masking that and not admitting it and not talking about it. And so I went many years trying to accept these experiences and feeling that, am I different? Am I weak? Why does it bother me? Right? Why do I hold on to this? And that was frustrating, because I couldn't talk to another buddy of mine, because we're raised to shut the fuck up and keep going. Next mission, next deployment, next thing. Not bad. It's like, I think, in all honesty, I think if you want to be a force, if you want to be a special operations unit that is just unstoppable, you have to have that ability. You have to be a monster. At the same time, they don't teach you how to, for those of us who were affected by it, I was never taught how to become human again.
I just have...
Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Can I ask you... Man, these are scary questions. How do you view the enemy? And I know that's dumb. Like, they're the guy we're fighting. But, like, when you're in it, and... these are other people. They have kids too.
Yeah.
What is that part of the reason why it makes everything so hard? Like, how does that?
I think as I matured, I thought of that, but when you're there, I never even cared, man.
Wow. I just back to the monster.
No, I knew that they were gonna kill me if they got me first. Wow. And like I would read things that would talk about how, you know, they have their beliefs, we have ours. Like we're both fighting a belief, you know what I mean? And whether it's right or wrong, we'll die for that belief, which is interesting to me because I'm like, oh shit, this guy just believes in what he'll die for this, and it's no big deal, same as me. And so that's fascinating because we're very similar in our ideology, right? And willing to die for it. But I didn't see it like I didn't think of it like human. I thought of it just
kind
like,
of that stuff's kind of in hindsight, probably.
Yeah,
but
it's like
I can only imagine if you're in the heat of it.
Yeah,
it's
now
just
if I produce a movie to show this, I want to show that. I want to show the dichotomy of that, like this very human side of both of us doing the same things. Both of us kissing our kids to sleep at night. Both of us going to war. Like,
God, that's why it's
you know what I mean?
Awful, man.
It's crazy. But like as I was in it, all I thought about was like, get them first, or don't die, or be good at the job, or it'd be nice to go home. You know, I wasn't the type that put like a picture of my family up. I didn't do that because I didn't want to think of them. I was just like, I'm here for the mission. Let's fucking go. If this goes right, I go home. But at the same time, it's like, you know what I mean? There was engagements that happened, and my dudes are doing their thing, and the teams are, you know, we were very successful. Like when I say very successful,
you guys were good.
We were very good at our job, and we accomplished a lot out there that I was very proud of, you know. And there's just these little moments that you're like, that might stick with me for a little bit, you know what I mean? And that's the stuff that I had to try and scrape off throughout the years.
Getting back to reality, like you said, after, I mean, you've been through, well, hold on. I have one more question before we do that. You guys are making big boy decisions in split set. Like we're talking, you're making life and death decisions for you and for other people. What advice do you have for people about, like, how do you live with yourself with those decisions? Like, how do you guys do that? How do you guys do that?
I don't know. I mean, you know,
sorry, go ahead.
Good. It feels like a different person, man. That person that went to war is so different than who I am now. So it's like the military does a really good job in training you to be really good at that, but not anything other than just being good at the mission. And that version of me was like playing a game. I wanted to be good at it. I was competitive. I wanted to be great. I wanted to, and I was surrounded by others who wanted to be just as great. And you know, very proud of every one of these men who were willing to put their life on the line. But like, I don't even recognize that kid anymore. And so I don't know. It's taken a lot for me to kind of get to the place I am now. And you know, one of your producers, Ryan, knows me and seen the changes throughout the years that I'm constantly still working. But like, I'm gonna tell you this story that I think is just kind of a weird one, but I don't understand how to. I still don't know how to explain why this bothers me so much, and I think it's probably because I have daughters. But there was a mission in Iraq where we come around the corner, and what's in a hallway is called a fatal funnel. What we call a fatal funnel, it's an area in a room where in the hallway, if someone just sprays a rifle, they could easily engage on you. And so you don't stay there long enough to get engaged. So it's a really smooth flow. And if at any point something stops you in that, you know that fatal funnel is a potential. And so it's kind of like push through, like rapid barricade, like boom, 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 keep going, go, 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 get out of the fatal funnel. And this little girl came out and was scratching and clawing at one of my guys on my team in front of me and pulling at his night vision, grabbing his barrel. And then one of the other guys next to him too. These are younger dudes, right? Like at this time, I'm probably 25, 26. And so my young dudes are 17, 18, 19, right? So they're young. Yeah. And this little girl's scratching at them. And ROE says we could shoot her. Ugly as that sounds, as soon as someone grabs a rifle, it's a potential threat.
Right.
Now, all of us are pretty well trained, so we're not going to engage on this little girl, but how the fuck do we get her to stop so we can get past this fatal funnel? Because we're actively in a mission to kill or capture a high-value target, right? So at any moment, someone could come around the corner, either throw a hand grenade or just...
I mean, this is what these decisions you guys have to make in a split second.
So in that moment, I grabbed her by the back of her shirt and just slammed her into the wall. And we just kept moving. And she I don't remember her moving from after that now. I don't think it's hard enough to actually kill anyone, but definitely knocked out cold. And we kept moving, and we completed the mission. And I completely just forgot about it. When we got back to the room, one of my dudes said, like, damn, dude, that was crazy, right? And I was like, what do you mean? It's like, bro, you just grabbed that girl and just flung her. And I was like, oh, again, forgot about it. Just like
the monster he was in charge. He doesn't, yeah.
Funnel. We're on a mission.
Yeah.
We're like, I'm not sure what you expect. We're like, this is what we do. But later on in life, I started to like think about it. And I was like, fuck, like that was jacked up. And it gave me like this uncomfortable feeling of like, man, that's not cool. You know what I'm saying? Like I as a father, I don't know how my head was even able to justify that. I don't even understand. And it made me, that was a moral injury that I didn't realize would come back and haunt me because I kept thinking about it. I'm like, as much as I try and brush that memory past me and just be like, it was in the moment, fatal funnel, we're on a mission, you did all the things right. It still doesn't sit well with me, you know? And things like that like, there's not what I expected when I joined. I didn't join the military for those little experiences left and right of combat. I didn't expect them to ever be a thing either. You know what I mean? Like I expected like go to war. I'm okay with that. Like shoot the enemy. I'm okay with that. You know, if I had to do that like all day long, let's go. Right. But to avoid these women and children who are in there trying to protect their dads, the biggest nightmare of their life is us kicking in the door while they sleep and waking them up. Like that stuff bothers me later, you know, as a kid who used to be terrified if someone would break into my house. I was now that monster that I was afraid of as a kid.
Well, got emotional when you talked about coming home from service and getting back to like mainstream living.
Yeah.
Was it hard for you at first? Was it were you struggling? What was that like?
I think the biggest part was like the FOMO, the fear of missing out. You know, you spent my life was training for war, going to war, training for war, going to war. Did that for 4 years, you know? And now, you know, what a lot of us struggled with is finding our purpose and finding our identity.
So you had fear of missing out of going to war?
Yeah, I said this before.
Whoa, I thought you meant fear of missing out like on the life. Wow,
no.
Okay.
Like, I've said this before, and I'll explain it like this, is like, there's no easier life than going to war because I only have to worry about one thing, and that's getting shot in the face.
Wow.
If you're home, I got to worry about bills. I got to worry about my relationship. I got to be a good dad. I got to do all these things. I got to do taxes and balance my checkbook. All this thing.
I'd rather kick in the door on a raid than do
100% because you're playing war with your friends, and if you die, you're a hero. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And it's easy. It's fucking easy, and it's addicting. It's adrenaline addicting. You chase it again and again and again.
Wow.
Coming home is the hardest thing you'll ever have to do because now you have to like, man, I got to actually hold a conversation with this woman that I don't really like anymore because I'm such a different person and she doesn't get me. I got to have a relationship with the kids who don't even know me, who don't run to me, who don't acknowledge me. I got to pay bills that I don't even know how much I got paid for the past 6 months when I was overseas. I've never had to spend money, so I don't even know. All this stuff is so fucking hard, dude, because it's like, oh, that's real life. That's, damn, I'd rather go back to war. And so you miss that.
Holy
you
shit!
Missed that.
You're just blowing my mind right now.
Yeah, it was. You know, I got back and I worked a full-time job at a prison and I went to school full-time because that's what I needed to do to make enough money to survive. And I had my kids at the time. I had 3 kids, and just trying to manage all that was interesting. I think I was so busy I wasn't paying attention to some of the residual effects that I had from war. You know what I mean? Like driving in Afghanistan was very similar to driving in Florence, Arizona, where the mountains are very similar, right? The textures of the mountains, the colors of these deserty homes that they're building with flat roofs were very similar to like these little villages in Afghanistan. And so I'd find myself sitting there at a stoplight thinking like, oh, that'd be a really good spot for a sniper. Jeez. You know what I mean? And like,
for sure though, like it's you're so wired.
Similar. Yeah. My mind is thinking all the time.
What about like PTSD, loud noises, sleeping, that stuff?
Those things, I always like loud noises. I think that's a very common one of like, oh, okay, you know, like hypervigilant, right? I've had sleep issues, but the sleep issues came even later in life that I didn't understand that I had to kind of start addressing. But yeah, these symptoms you hear about of post-traumatic stress, I wasn't having what the movie would tell me, right? The movie would say like, oh, they'd be in a store and they just crawl up in a ball, start crying and holding their ears or something like that, right? You know, the movie kind of exaggerates it in a way. And I personally never had anything like that, but I had different things that were like, oh, this has to be PTSD. You know what I'm saying? This
like anger or
for sure, all that stuff. But like, so there was an incident overseas where I was providing medical to a family of 7. It was like 7 or 8 or 6. It was in that range, and they got burned. The father put gasoline in a kerosene lamp in the wintertime because we were out there in the winter, and it blew up and burned all of them. And so the days I wasn't working missions, I was volunteering at the cache for like casualty collection point where people get injured. I'd go help them do medical. And the family came in and they asked us like, all right, here we go. This is what we do. We give them this kind of medication. We scrub all the areas that were affected by the burns. Then we wrap them back up and then we'll see them again tomorrow. We'll keep doing this. And so essentially you're just trying to clean the wounds so they don't get infections. And we have to put them under medication because it's really painful for them. And so we're scrubbing all the burn wounds. We're putting Silverdene on it, wrapping it with gauze, and then sending them on their way. And within 2 weeks, they all died besides the mom. And I always kept, the smell always sticks with you, right? Because like burnt flesh is just a very potent smell. But I kept thinking how like, man, I bet that dad feels terrible. Like, that sucks, man. Like, that's bad. And I thought of it so much that I didn't realize how much burns would affect me. Fast forward, you know, I'm cooking Thanksgiving dinner for the family. I woke up early, around 5 o'clock, to put the first, you know, turkey in the oven. About midday, 11 o'clock, I'm putting the ham in there. And as I go to the couch to take a nap, my son's sitting on the couch, my oldest son. And the brown sugar is kind of pouring off of the tray onto the side, and it's creating smoke. I fell asleep because I'm tired. I woke up early. My wife says, babe, something's burning. And I jumped up. This is me watching me. Somehow it was an out of body experience kind of style where I'm sitting here watching myself screaming at the top of my lungs, jumping over the couch one way, jumping back over, turning it off, and then standing there screaming over my son, looking like into the middle of nowhere and just like this really crazy kind of like terrible sound that I started to hear myself do it. And I'm also thinking like, is that me screaming like that? And that sounds crazy, bro, but it was hard to hear myself screaming at a pitch that I would not be able to recognize. That scared me even more. You know what I'm saying? It was like
when I got the phone call about my family that was killed, I had the same experience. I'm like, what is that noise? And I'm like, that's me. Like, I'm making that shrieking. So I actually can relate a little bit to this part of it, but like, sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
No, it's yours. Go ahead.
It was hard to know that I had no control over myself, and that scream terrified everybody in my house, especially my son, who I'm screaming right over. He's crying because he doesn't know if dad's going to attack him or hurt him or know what. And that was like, where the hell did that come from, dude? Like, that sucked. And it was hard for me to eat dinner that night because like everyone is this awkward like
what was that?
What happened?
Let's not have that happen again. Like what caused
couldn't
that?
Even, and I couldn't explain to you to this day. It's happened to me probably 3 other times in my life, all around some kind of burn. So that's why I realized, identify the trigger as burns. And I know deep down in that moment, I was thinking like, oh my God, I just burned my family. And I thought it was like I was in the same kind of thought process of what that other father.
You think of that dad all the time.
And it was, so, you know, I think that moment had a lasting effect on my son to this day. I think it's changed his views of me, and I still think he's terrified of me.
Wow. I'm so sorry, man. Like,
dude,
not. Life's so not fair and brutal.
Yeah. Learned a lot, man. I've said my sorries to him. I've done a lot of work, you know. That's just like, that's one residual thing of war that I've been working on. And I guess it's tough because my older kids, they had war dad. You know, they had a dad that go to combat and come back, was completely distant from them, that was drinking to kind of cope, that had an unhealthy relationship with their mother, that was angry all the time, that I didn't want to exist in this like kids play. Didn't care about it. It was like, this is so insignificant to like the war that we need to go fight. You know what I mean? I was so like, being a dad was so important to me, but like being a dad as in like, let me just pay the bills. I didn't want to try and mentor them. That wasn't important as much as like being ready for the next deployment, because it was hard. That's hard to manage. That's hard to mentor. That's hard to be there. It's hard to be emotionally available for them. And like, what I feel really guilty on is that the older ones didn't have this version. Because I still have to work on things, don't get me wrong, but I'm definitely a more relevant, definitely a more, you know, in a place where mentoring my kids and being there and laughing at their little jokes, or allowing them to tell me these stories that are completely irrelevant, that my mind's like, this means nothing, but I'll just sit here and smile.
There's a American Sniper.
Yeah.
There's a scene where Bradley Cooper, he goes home, he gets a break, he goes home.
Yeah.
His wife's pregnant. And his wife, and everything that you're saying, he's just, you know, his mind's on the war, he's not really present in the moment, and his wife's frustrated, she's pregnant, and she's like, you're not here. Like, you're here, but you're not here. You're just focused on the war. And he's like, I forget what he says, but he says something to the effect of, there's a war going on. People are dying, and no one cares. No one gives a shit. No one's talking about it here. And you just remind me of that when he said that. Like, you've seen things that no one should see and do things, and now it just makes regular life seem so different than the average person. There's
an interesting thing that happens when you go overseas with these guys, is that you're in love with them in the sense of family, like that really deep love, and you care about their livelihood, you care about everything. And then you have to come home to your family that you love, and you have to differentiate the two loves. And one of those is a lot easier than the other love. And so you're like, how are they doing? Do you think they want to play video games tonight? I'll play video games with my dudes. And it's like, oh, there's my family, but like, I'm going to go play. You just went overseas to these dudes for 6 months, and you still want to come home and play video games with me? Yeah, because like, I enjoy that conversation better. I enjoy that banter. I enjoy, you know, their time. Yeah. And I'm not really ready to face this.
Yeah. So what advice do you give to veterans that are coming home and getting back into the real world? What do you tell them?
Man, it's a lot. You know, I think if I've been doing this for a long time of trying to really understand this, and one of the big things is a lot of guys struggle with finding their identity and their purpose. Like, those are the two things you hear all the time. Like,
well, and it was crystal clear when they were in the service.
Yeah, you don't have a choice. They get to you. Yeah, here's your identity and here's your purpose. Right, exactly. And so when they get out, you know, what happens is a lot of guys, they kind of just like, it's kind of like pity mode, right? They're kind of like, oh man, woe is me, you know, and all this hard stuff that they saw in the combat, all this hard stuff that they did, but you know, the military is not really good at trying to help you heal those things. You know what I mean? They just taught you how to really mask them and just kind of stay busy. And I think it's pretty similar. Like, we need to be busy with creating a new path, whatever that may be. And even if you don't necessarily know what that path is, like, create a path just so you're busy while you're also going towards something and accomplishing something, right? These little accomplishments, like these wins, right? And I don't know. I know your story, but I don't know how you've gotten to the place where you are now. But I imagine there's something of that, like you just had to keep putting one foot in front of the other. Yeah. Very similar in a sense.
Yeah, I think grief takes practice and effort, like everything else. And
and I don't want to disrespect grieving loved ones, but grieving a military career is a very similar path. you're grieving that old version of you, and you have to find a new one, and you almost have to be reborn again, and you have to find the new passion, the new mission, and you really got to start to understand what the hell makes you tick. And so, you know, what I did, and I say, I don't know if this is the answer, I can say that this worked for me, was I tried a lot of fucking things, and I hated a lot of them. And so I knew right away, like, those will not be what I do, you know? And I started kind of figuring out what I do for myself. And in that process was, I had to heal trauma first. And that's even childhood trauma stuff that I didn't realize had an effect on me as an adult. Heal some of the stuff from combat. Understand, you know, that, you know, I think some of us think we're alone, and there's a lot of us men are afraid to like tell someone, like, hey, I'm feeling a kind of type of way. I remember telling one of my Ranger buddies, like, hey, bro, do you remember that? This recently. I'm like, I host retreats for veterans now and all this stuff. And because I've trying to show them with the path that I took. And one of those dudes was my Ranger buddy, right? And he shows up and I'm like, do you remember that mission? And I'm like nervous, like, dog, like, I don't know how to tell you this, but do you know that mission where, you know, there's a mission where we engaged on a vehicle that was during an ambush. These terrorist dudes used their family in the back seat. I mean, they were in the back seat while they're doing an ambush, right? And they're shooting right over their heads. Our whole platoon is shooting right at them. And, you know, I put around the corner watching this whole thing singing. I'm like, oh, damn. Either way, part of this, like what they psychologically they knew they would do, they would destroy us by things like that, right? Like really moral injury. Like when you have to fight around these women and children, it's like super unfair. And so like I asked him, I was like, bro, do you remember that? And his eyes glossed over. He's like, mm-hmm. And I was like, bro, I don't think I've ever asked anyone in our platoon that. And it was a little bit of reassurance of healing for me. Yeah. Saying like,
just able to talk about it. I'm sure too. Yeah.
Just that was enough.
Yeah. Just acknowledge it.
That was enough. That was enough for me to be like,
he's thinking about that too. Yeah. That's weighing on him.
Yeah.
Too.
We carried that for way too long, dude. Like way too long to say it's all good, bro. Like war is ugly and it's not fair. And like I said, we signed up to do war to go for the bad guy, and you know, their way of war was unfair, and as well as war's ugly. But like, I don't know. I think I the fact that he gave me an acknowledgement made me feel like, okay, cool.
Yeah, that's something I've learned podcasting is I can't fix anyone's problems. Yeah. Like there's nothing I can do to give you back the people you've lost. Like there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
But I just think people feeling validated in their pain and feeling heard just does a lot for them, and it makes them stronger to carry the weight that they've been given. But that's all you can really do. There's no fixing it.
No. I think you know, we all have to get to a place where we are our own counselors, where we acknowledge like, oh, this hurts or this doesn't feel good, and I should address that, and I should acknowledge it, and I should try and heal it, and then I should keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, we use counselors, we use buddies, we use all that, but it really is us kind of dissecting our own problem and trying to come to terms with it.
No, I think that's a skill that I've am getting through talking about and just having hard conversations. Is just being willing to have them, I guess, and just understanding the value that comes from them. Because you don't know what the answer is going to be all the time. And it's the questions I've asked you today were really scary for me, and I'm not even answering them. I'm just asking them. I have one more question, and then maybe we can get into movies and wrap this thing up. Survivor's guilt.
Yeah. I lost a really good friend when I was injured. I wasn't home. I wasn't there. I mean, I was home from a shoulder injury from Ranger School, and I was supposed to get deployed with them. I showed up, and the battalion physician's assistant denied my deployment, so I stayed home, and I did other training until it was time for them to come home. And a week prior to the redeployment, meaning they're coming home, two of our guys were killed in Iraq. And that's a shock for a platoon that's had a lot of combat action, but no deaths. We've had casualties. We just didn't lose anyone. And then it's really weird to say.
Hey, sorry, I thought. What's the difference between casualty and death?
We got guys got hit, guys got shot, guys
Okay.
got blown up, but didn't die.
Sorry, I thought that was. I'm
Maybe
dumb.
Maybe, look at.
I'm glad I asked.
Yeah,
that.
I got a
thought,
couple
wait a minute.
TBIs. Maybe I'm wrong, but the definition. But
I think you're right. I think we're going with you.
In the end, it's like we had guys get injured in combat.
Yeah.
We have guys got blown up by frags. We got guys hit by IEDs. We got guys who've been shot, but we didn't lose anyone during my time.
Yeah.
Before my time, the battalion did lose a guy, Jay Blessing, right? But and we also lost Pat Tillman, right? Pat Tillman was my era. I was there.
Wow.
Yeah, I was the new guy who just got there, and then we didn't redeploy. We just kind of watched that whole thing unfold, right? And so we've had death in the battalion, but this one hit just as hard as the others. But for me, it was like losing a mentor and a father, like a military father. You know, these two guys were Brim and Barraza were, man. If there's someone walks in the room and takes the fucking oxygen out of the motherfucker because they're just badass, that's these two.
That's those guys.
Yeah, they walk in and everyone's like, cool.
Well, because that's how I think about you. So if you think that about them, who knows what they're doing?
That's, man, I just, I looked up to them.
Yeah.
And Barraza more than anything because he was a big Latino guy like me. And so it was cool seeing someone in a position high up that looked like me.
Yeah.
That was, you know, like I could look up to this guy. And the crazy part about it, and this is the weirdest thing, I think what it's so humbling to me is that he was also like a year and a half younger than me. He's just joined the military young. I joined after, you know, losing the scholarship to baseball. So he was younger than me. I didn't really even think about that. I looked at him like he was 20 years older than me for how much combat he had and how experienced he was at war, but not even that, like how he can talk and mentor was impressive. Like he showed up and everyone shut the hell up and listened. Like that's how he was to me. And he was funny. He would talk shit to me. It was like this all around. I'm like, this is the dude I want to be like. And I was really excited graduating from Ranger School. I knew that he was going to pull me onto his team and, you know, we'd continue doing this war thing together, right? Someone I really looked up to. You know, we became friends in a really weird space where we're not supposed to. Because I'm older than him, because I was kind of an older, younger dude in the military, I guess, by rank, I still got invited to be in, like, the higher ranking people's weddings, right? So it was like staff sergeant, PFC. Like the weirdest thing, right? And so, but I was older than these guys, you know, outside of work, very relatable in our lives. And, you know, when he was killed, it really puts things in perspective of, man, like if the best dude I've ever seen do the job get killed, like who am I? Like how vulnerable does that make me? And like, then I'm like, well, now I am nervous. I've never really thought like this because you see these giants who just, with confidence, just, man, kicking a door, walk in there, like do their thing. You're like, damn, these dudes are bad. And for him to get killed and Brim to get killed was like, shit, we're human. And that was rough. That one psychologically put me in a place.
Like if they could be killed, like I could.
Yeah, what am I? Yeah, I'm nobody. I'm nowhere near as good as they are. I know they shoot better than me, right? I know they're physically in better shape than me. I just know they understand this war thing better than I ever have because they've done it way more than me. And so that made me, that was tough, man. And was tough was that since I was on the rear, they call it rear D, rear detachment, they had us kind of do everything. And so I was packing his stuff, you know, and his family would like, you know, I'd sit there with the family and talk to him and stuff, and especially, you know, his lady at the time. And you know, he had these, it was really interesting. He was very, a lot of these guys that go to war, I've noticed, are like big book readers and like poems and stuff like that. It's really cool. But like he, part of his cocky attitude, man, I'm talking like cocky, like he was like, he knew he was good, right?
Yeah.
And the funny thing is his wall locker, as I'm cleaning it out, we used to put our address on the wall locker of where it goes, our family member, our wives, whoever it is. And he wasn't married at the time, so he had his mom's address on there, and it says, in case of emergency, send here. And he goes, but I'm a badass motherfucker, nothing's gonna happen. And you read that and you're like, fuck, dude. Like, damn, that's just That's how good he was, man. He
The
was
confidence to just put that down.
That's him.
Next
Like,
level.
no one's wall locker had that but his. And you're just like, yeah, bro, you are a badass. I found a poem on his desk, and I can't recite it word for word, but it was something to the fact that, you know, the enemy, you know, is a son of God, just like he is. And in that moment, he's the instrument of his death. And it was just like, damn, dude, the whole thing just fucked me up. And so many things that just like would run through my head when we went to Bakersfield to lay him to rest. The dark humor side of us is all laughing about how big he was. He was a big boy, you know, he's muscular. And so he was heavy, you know what I mean? And all of his friends who carried him were kind of joking like, damn, Rick, you didn't have to be so fucking heavy, you know? And we joke about it, but it was these moments that were like, he would be talking shit about us too. You know what I mean? And I know it because there was one day we did training and they were carrying me. He goes, motherfucker, you better hope you never go down in combat. Because they were talking about how they would just blow me in place and they would just leave an 8-digit grid of where my body's at because they didn't want to carry me. And it's like, you know, unfortunately he lost his life and we carried him. And the similar jokes that we knew he would be saying about us, you know, it's tough, man. It's something that I didn't know how to handle at a young age. You know, watching his significant other get one last hug before they closed the casket was like haunting. She's not a very big person, and she pretty much pulled his upper half of his body out of the casket for that one last hug, man. And I just broke. I was very fortunate to have my dad there, but I was like, I never in a million years expected that scenario to happen. Never. I mean, I've said it plenty of times, like I would easily have changed my life for his, because I think he was that great of a person, great of a mentor. And I imagine he would be doing amazing things in this world today that I don't think I could ever touch. And so I lived for a long time trying to hurt myself with this idea, and a lot of veterans do this. So like I try and word this as best I can. A lot of us do this because the only way we can show we love someone so much is allow them to hurt their death to hurt us so bad that it's almost impossible to live. And so the anniversary of his death, we drink till we're stupid, right? It's like I'm paying homage to him by destroying my own life in an act to show you how much I loved you and how much it hurts. And that only went on for so long before I was like, what the hell am I doing? That was tough, man, because like I didn't know how to show him I loved him other than like allow his death to break me. And at some point I just was able to be like, there's no way he's looking down at heaven. If there's a heaven in my head and he's looking down and he's saying, yeah, dude, keep fucking up. That's what I want. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't make sense. Like, that doesn't compute.
Yeah, it's like I know my kids and Courtney want me to be happy.
Yeah.
But, and mostly at first, but the survivor guilt, like, whenever you're happy, it just feels wrong.
Right.
And that's what you're saying. Like, you just want to be hurt. You want to self-sabotage. Because that's what feels right.
Right. It felt appropriate.
Right.
It felt like that's a justifiable action. And if I'm happy, that means
I don't care about him.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't affect me.
Right.
And so, like,
but then you also know he wants me to be happy. I got to be happy.
Yeah.
And that's really one of the hardest parts of grief, I think, is being happy. Yeah. Being sad's the easy part.
Yeah, man.
You have to keep living. I'd be happy.
I did for a long time. Like, I only became a Border Patrol agent because he mentioned it. He mentioned in the conversation. Yeah. He was like, "Oh man,
big impact on you."
And so I said, "You know what? Let me do that. Let me live that for him." You know, and doing the acting and stuff was my dream. I finally was able to like put it all aside and be like, "Let me just go live for me."
Man, I forgot you acted. You're so cool. You're the coolest.
No, man. I've just gone through phases of trying to figure it out. But yeah, when I was able to kind of flip that idea and say like, let me see how successful I can be for you, bro. Let me make you proud of me. Let me show you what living looks like, because I know that a lot of my friends who've taken their lives, friends who've died in combat, like, I want to live for them. Like, I want to show them how fucking far I can go. Like, that genuinely is now my drive. And like, I'm not done. I've done a lot, but I ain't done. There's so much. And that's really my driving factor, is like, how much can I get done? How many lives can I live in this one for them? That's genuinely where the motivation is.
I love that, man. It's inspiring to me. God, dude, I talk to you. I can talk to you all. Yeah, we got to wrap this up.
Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
True hero. I know that probably sounds weird, like you don't like it because of all the shit you've been through, but like, man, like, thank you for everything, dude. And top 3 movies?
Top 3 movies.
Unless
Blackhawk Down.
Unless there's anything else you want to say real quick.
No.
You feel good about it?
No, honestly. Blackhawk Down for sure.
Number 3, Blackhawk Down.
Shawshank Redemption's always on my list.
Wow, that class.
That's always on my list.
Yeah.
Ooh, what's another one? I've watched so many movies, and I'm trying to think of something more recent that was just fantastic. It's probably gonna be like a romance, because I enjoy those. We'll say The Notebook. We'll say The Notebook.
Oh, the Notebook.
Yeah. I love it.
Army Ranger coming in a Notebook number 1. I respect that, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, you're the man. Thanks again, man. I don't know what else to say. And we'll have a round 2 when you come to Salt Lake.
Absolutely.
And life's 10% what happens to you and 90% what you're going to do about it.